part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
And welcome to another Reghi and Roda podcast powered by MGM Northfield Park right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Shout out to our outstanding producer, Ty Courts, making sure we reach you out there wherever you are in the podcatosphere. And Michael Reghi, we're going to focus on the Cleveland Cavaliers as they make their playoff push with 18 games to go in the regular season. The Cavaliers currently 39-25, which is good for fourth place in the Eastern Conference. However, the hard-charging New York Knicks making some noise. The Brooklyn Nets are hanging around, even though they got rid of KD and Kyrie, and Miami with Kevin Love there now. We'll see what happens with them. So just your thoughts on where the Cavaliers are as we go through this final stretch.
Good to see them on Sunday night, Ken. Get that win over the Toronto Raptors, because as we know, Toronto, historically has given the Cavaliers trouble. So that was good to be able to bounce back and get that win after coming back from the All-Star break. And, of course, Denver's a very good basketball team, and they got beat by Denver. So important last night to get that W, and that they did. I'm going to be, and I throw this to you, JB Bickerstaff. This is going to be very interesting to see what the hell he's doing rotation-wise, because, I mean, and it sounded like he had a conversation with Donovan Mitchell, because Mitchell hadn't been playing all that. No, not Mitchell-esque, right, Kenny? He has not been playing to the standard that he began his season with the Cavaliers, but on Sunday night he got it rolling again. So, but going to be interesting to see. What's Jetty Osman, Dean Wade, Kenny? I know everybody likes Ricky Rubio, but since he's come back, I think he's shooting about 17% from the floor. He can't make a damn shot. So, this is going to be, I think, kind of very interesting, maybe even telling to see how this thing plays out, huh?
I'm concerned about the bench, Reg, because the bench right now, they let Kevin Love go, and now he's starting for the Miami Heat. And Love wasn't a major contributor when he was healthy, and then he hurt his thumb, and then he fell out of favor, and then fell out of the rotation, right? And he was pissed, and so he voiced his displeasure, and they let him go. I would have kept him for an insurance policy as far as, the power forward and center position goes, just to have another experienced big body there. But they elected to let him go. Okay, fine, because they wanted to give the younger guys the opportunity to get minutes and gain experience. Well, Jetty Osman is inconsistent. Dean Wade has been inconsistent. As you mentioned, since Rubio's been back, he's been awful shooting the basketball. Karis LeVert has been up and down, but he's their best bench player, but you never know for sure what you're going to get out of him each and every night. So the bench is the weakest part of this basketball team, no mistake about it. And something that JB has to be careful of, Michael, is I know they want to secure a playoff spot first and foremost, and preferably the number 4 spot to have that home court advantage in the first round. But JB's got to be careful he doesn't wear out his guys, his starters, because they scored over 100 of their 118 points yesterday in that win against Toronto. And that's an area of concern for me, that a couple of those guys off the bench need to be able to play 20 to 25 minutes a night to give some of these regulars, these starters, a rest, Reg, or they're going to be burnt out by the time the playoffs roll around.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And that's got to be, I think, of prime importance for JB Bickerstaff as he goes forward here, because, again, you can't keep playing these guys 37 to 42 minutes a night, and there's going to be, although I don't believe they have any more back-to-backs. Am I right about that? I think I saw
it's either one or none, Reg. Yeah, it's either one or none for them. So they may have played that one. Yeah, so that's a plus.
That helps, yeah, but there's no question about it. I mean, you're going to, I want to be able to see, can you have Dean Wade on the floor for 22 to 25 minutes?
Right.
Jetty Osman, can you have him on the floor for 18 to 22 minutes? Karis LeVert gets his minutes, and his shot has kind of been in and out of late. But Ken, like last night, the thing I like, and I don't think a lot of fans thought, like last night, he had 6 assists in 21 minutes. So, he puts it on the floor, gets into the paint, and then will look to get the ball to Mobley or Allen. And, he's really the only one off the bench. I guess Rubio too, but Rubio's got to be able to make a shot or two, Ken. Yeah. I mean, you want to give him time, coming back from injury, that's fine. But my goodness, I mean, every night with him, it seems like it's 0 for 5, 1 for 7,
Right.
So I hope that shot starts coming back a little bit because, they're going to. We've seen that I still don't see defense, and everybody's telling me, and I try to watch or tape most of the games about how well Cedric, Okoro is
right.
Isaac Okoro is shooting the basketball, but Ken, the opposition defenses don't play him.
No, they don't respect him at all.
When he's in a corner, I mean, I would hope he can knock down one of the 3 or 4 threes he takes because nobody's playing him. So, there again, it's almost like until that gets honored, it makes things even more difficult on the offensive side. And what do you think is going to be? We mentioned, Wade and I'm talking about probably the front court here at this point, Wade and Osman. What is he going to? What's Danny Green's role going to be coming out?
Well, hopefully it's a bigger role than he's used him so far.
20 minutes? Is that where they're trying to get with him?
I think 15 would be the number. I think they would like to find him 7 in the first half, 7 in the second half, and maybe 8 in the second half, and use him in those final 2 minutes for defensive purposes. To be out there with Okoro, and then get Okoro out of there when it's defense to offense, because Green's a better shooter than Okoro is, especially on those corner threes. So I think Caris LeVert and Danny Green are going to be their 2 most important bench players down the stretch and in the playoffs. And hopefully I can add Rubio into that mix as well, Michael, if he improves on his 30% field goal percentage and his 26% 3-point percentage right now.
Yeah, yikes. And I know. So there's a lot to be at hand and on the table there, and then staying in that. I'd like to see him stay in that 4th spot too, as well, Ken. As you said, I mean, Tom Thibodeau's got his New York Knicks rolling right now. I mean, they are playing very good basketball. And for the Cavaliers, I'd hate to see them at this point, though, drop any lower than 4, Ken.
Right. What's the best way to say this? When the season started, I just wanted them to be in the top 6 and make the playoffs. Now I'm going to be greedy and be like you and say, no, I want the 4th spot and that home court advantage in that best of 7 first round series, because in a best of 7 first round series against the Brooklyn Nets, the now constructed Brooklyn Nets, or the New York Knicks, I think the Cavaliers can beat either one of those teams in a 7-game series if, Michael, they have home court advantage. They are a completely different team at home versus on the road. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why 4 is so important for this young version of the Cavaliers, that basically when you look at the playoff experience, it's Donovan Mitchell and barely Jared Allen, right? So that's why I think they need that home court advantage. Ideally, I'd like it to be the Brooklyn Nets that are 5, but I think they're going to end up either 6 or maybe 7, depending if Miami can get this thing rolling, right?
Yeah.
The Knicks, I think the Cavaliers can beat in a 7-game series. The Miami Heat, when healthy with everybody back and their playoff experience, I don't know if the Cavaliers can beat them in a 7-game series. And we're going to get a good feel for that, Michael, because coming up, they've got back-to-back. Well, they're not on back-to-back nights, but they're back-to-back games in South Beach. Here's their schedule, Reg.
Right. Yeah.
They have Boston We're taping this on what is tonight? Monday night.
Monday.
So they've got Boston on Wednesday, then Detroit. They're at Boston Wednesday, then Detroit home, Boston home. Then they go to Miami to play 2 games in 3 days in South Beach. And you know all about the South Beach flu.
I do,
and how that affects a lot of teams.
Yes, sir.
And not just players, right? Coaches, front office,
Everybody.
media members, everybody, right?
Yes,
There's
sir.
a lot to do and easily to be distracted down there. So we're going to find out over these next 5 games, Michael, in my opinion, okay, what this team is all about. 2 against Boston, home and away, 2 at Miami, and you've got the cupcake known as the Detroit Pistons thrown in there between the 2 Boston games.
Yeah.
So if they could come out of that at 3-2, I think at best, or 2-3 worst case scenario. Okay, but if they go 1-4 and the only one they win out of that bunch is that Detroit game, then I'm a little bit concerned and wondering if they'll be able to hold on to the 4 spot.
Sure, they could fall all the way down to 6.
Yeah,
quite honestly.
Yep.
If you get just continue the strong play that the Knicks are showing of late.
Yes.
And I don't know if Miami catches a spark. I saw that their leader and their top guy, Mr. Butler, came out and called them all out. I think it was, I don't know, it was over the weekend.
Right.
But he called everybody out and said we're losing too many damn basketball games that we shouldn't be losing. So, we'll see where all of that goes. But yeah, the Cavaliers have, what is it, 22 games left right now? Or is it?
They are, I'll do some quick
record?
math here. 39-25, so that's 64, 18 games
They've only got
left.
18 games left right now.
They've played more than most teams. They had the most games played at the All-Star break, Reg.
That's right. Yeah, that's correct. So, I mean, again, I just want to see, we already touched on it. I'd like to see them to be able to not have to play, especially Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. I don't want them to be doing 38, 40 minutes a night, if at all possible, Ken. And I guess you might maybe want to say the same thing with Donovan Mitchell. The guy I'm really, you and I have talked about him, and it's not that he's not a fine young player, but I don't know. You could talk me off the ledge if you want, but young Darius Garland still scares me at times, Kenny Roda, in the half court offensively, and with just sometimes, man, what the hell are you looking to do with the basketball? He'll go from one side of the floor to the other, Kenny, and to me, passing down opportunities to get the ball to Mobley and Allen. So again, your job will be to talk Reghi off the ledge because, again, the kid's a fine young player. I still think, though, he's a 2-guard mentally, Kenny. He wants to shoot the rock himself. You can't tell me that that's not his main objective for his own game, okay? It doesn't mean he's a bad player.
Right.
But I got, Kenny, I'm concerned about him come playoff time because how things tighten up at playoff time, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he's going to have the basketball in his hands,
Or will Reg? Or will he? Or will they put it in
you're
the
right.
hands of Donovan
Maybe
Mitchell?
they'll let Donovan Mitchell do it.
Yeah. So
maybe they'll go with Karis LeVert's on the floor. Maybe they'll have him run it a little more. I don't know. But like I said, a fine young player, don't get me wrong, and I hope he continues to grow. But right now, Ken, there are times he makes me shake my head and he scares me.
What I loved about the win over Toronto was, number one, they finally played physical basketball against a team that had out-physicaled them in the first 3 times this season and beat them all 3 times, okay?
Right.
So that was number one that I liked in the win over Toronto. Number two, what I liked was 11 assists from Darius Garland. That was my favorite stat of the whole game.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right?
Right there. Give me that Darius Garland.
Absolutely.
You can still get your 20 points, man.
There you go. 20 and 11 every night. Let Donovan go for his 30 and then keep feeding the basketball to Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. And as much as I'll get on Darius Garland for that, I'm going to get on JB Bickerstaff for that, for not preaching that to both Mitchell and Garland, that the offense, we need to run it inside out. Run it through run it through Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. And when they collapse, that's where you spot up DG. That's where you spot up Mitchell, and that's where your open shots maybe will come from. Pass into the post, pass out of the post, and move without the basketball. That's what I need to see more of. And last night, 23 from Allen, 18 from Mobley. They were 17 of 27 from the field, and the Cavaliers went to them early in the game, and then they didn't ignore them late in the game and continued to go to them. And that's what has to be done for 4 quarters with that basketball team if they're going to beat the likes of Boston, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, the New York Knicks, the Miami Heat.
Yeah, well, the first 3 you said for sure. Yes. Because to me, those are the 3 best teams in the Eastern Conference. You put them in whatever order you like, Milwaukee, Boston, Philly. I think those 3 are the top teams right now, and that, get out of that first round. You finish 4, right? And then more than likely, you're going to see the team that finishes first, right, in that second round, if the Cavaliers stay 4, whether that's Milwaukee or Boston. And then come second round time, and oh my God, we better be talking about a second round of the playoffs, Kenny. But then we're going to find out what this Cavalier team and JB Bickerstaff is all about.
That would be house money for me. If they were to A, make the playoffs as a 4 seed, B, win the first round.
Yeah.
C, get to the second round. I don't care what happens there, because you've got to, again, we mentioned this the last time we did, you got to crawl before you walk, walk before you run before you jump. So if they could get to the second round and gain 2 playoff series experience for this young team, Reg, I would be happy. And I hate to say this because I'm a competitor, I hate to lose, but I would be happy if they bowed out to the Bucks or the Celtics in the second round, the number 1 seed, if they were able to get to that point.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, I get your approach there, and that's fair. I'm
trying to be realistic, right, for this year.
Yes, I get you. Given the constitution of exactly what we're talking about here, that's fair. I hope that's the way they feel. But when you put realism to it, do I think that we'll just go with the 2 we said? Philly there too. I don't know if the Cavaliers could beat Philly, quite frankly, in a 7-game series. But Boston and/or Milwaukee, second round, 7-game series, I think it would be a tall task. So I'm with you there.
Okay.
They certainly wouldn't be favored. No. And for them to, but you're right. Get there though. Get there.
Got to, right? Especially if it's New York or Brooklyn, right? Yeah. Miami in the first round, different animal. If they get it rolling with they were in the finals a couple of years ago. The Boston was in the finals last year. Milwaukee won it 2 years ago, right? So that's why those teams scare me, along with the 76ers. The Knicks and Nets are the ideal candidates for the Cavaliers in that first round. If the Cavs are the 4, you want either Brooklyn or New York to be that 5. And then I think they can win that first round series with either one of those teams.
Yeah, I hope so. I'd feel a little bit better about it if it was Brooklyn, because man, the Knicks are capable. I really like what Tom Thibodeau has done with them. And Kenny too, they've got strangely enough in the NBA, they've got a little bit better record on the road than they do at their Madison Square Garden home. So they play well on the road. I think it probably would be a long series with the Cavs and the Knicks. But I'm with you, regardless of whom it is. Knicks, Brooklyn, Miami. Well, I'd be disappointed. I think if they didn't win that series, especially if they wind up in that 4 spot.
Reg, it's going to be the Knicks because of what happened in the offseason. Mitchell thinks he's going to New York. He doesn't. He comes to Cleveland. Instead, they get Brunson. So what better way to, have that as the backdrop for the series than to have the Cavaliers and the Knicks play in the first round and build that story up the entire time. That's just, it seems to me that's how the basketball gods work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. That very well could be the case. So, but for me, regardless, I want to see the Cavaliers win that first round series. Then after that, because it's probably going to be Boston or Milwaukee after that, and you're playing with house money. Okay. Absolutely. And no, I don't expect them to beat either in a 7-game series, but You got to be able to win that first round against one of those teams we're talking about. Be that the Knicks, be that Miami, be that Brooklyn. You got to be able to win that first round. I mean, Kenny, if nothing else, I mean, to validate you've been in the top, you've been in the hanging around that 3-4 spot all year long, right?
Right.
In terms of record wise. So to validate your legitimacy with that, right? If nothing else, I mean, you got home floor, you better damn well win that first round. So, but what, 18 games to get there to see where that goes. I hope JB Bickerstaff is starting to look at how he wants, his bench minutes to play out during the course of that first round, whomever it's against. And, we'll see if the likes of, Dean Wade, Jetty Osman, and Danny Green to be a factor with that, because they're going to need some solid minutes from those guys, in that front court to be able to get out of that first round.
Yeah, and what he and I mean JB Bickerstaff is going to have to do in the playoffs is he's going to have to split up the time with Mobley and Allen, because they're going to need one of those two guys on the floor at all times.
Right.
Because they're their only bigs. Right? That's it. You got rid of Love. And so you're going to have to, okay, they start, that's fine. Then you start divvying up their minutes. You make sure when Allen isn't on the floor, Mobley is. When Mobley isn't on the floor, Allen is. And you build around that by having them as the centerpiece of your defense and still run some of your offense through that one player when he's in there. And then ideally, when both are in there, run your offense, like we said earlier, from the inside out to set everything up. I don't know if Garland and Mitchell will be accepting of that, Reg. That's my concern with it. As I watched some of these recent losses, right?
I hear you.
To Philadelphia before the break, Denver coming out of the break against Atlanta. They lost 3 in a row to 3 playoff teams, right?
Yep.
Well, guess what? They ignored the bigs in the fourth quarter. And one of those games, Mobley had 31 points after 3 quarters and didn't score the rest of the game and took 2 shots the rest of the game. So that is my area of concern with that backcourt, who thinks they are the 2 best players on the team. And offensively, yes, but as a whole, for the team to benefit and be the better team, they need to incorporate the bigs, Allen and Mobley, for all 4 quarters, not just the first 2 or 3 quarters. And come stretch time, ignore them and do the stanky leg offense, the one-on-one bullshit that gets them to lose games and blow leads.
Without question. And that's a lot of that's on JB Bickerstaff too.
Yes.
You're the head coach. You can't allow that to happen. I get it. Between the two of them, hell, Kenny, we might see between the two of them take 45 to 50 shots.
Yes.
Between the two of them. And, okay, that's all well and good. But as you just said, you got to have, Mobley and or Allen on the floor at all times. And you got to be finding a way to make sure they get their touches in half-court offense. Because if it's just going to be somebody, and look, this isn't, but Donovan Mitchell looks for that ball screen and he's firing it, man. And again, I know, he's your top offensive player, but we've also seen some games here of late. You mentioned a couple of them where he went 6 for 25 on the floor. And now Garland's, well, then I better I better start firing away. Right now, let's make the defense play you honest. Get touches for those 2 bigs. And if you need to run it inside out if you have to. You're still going to get looks if you get those 2 the ball down on the block, because unlike Isaac Okoro, those 2 are going to get defended. They're going to get defended, right? And then you trust in them when there are opportunities to play inside out and kick, and you're probably going to have fairly open shooters on the perimeter.
And the other thing, Reg, I need them to do a better job of, and I say them in Garland and Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
If you're having an off night from beyond the arc, don't keep jacking up the triples. Have a feel for the game. You know when you're on, you know when you're not, and don't give me that shooters bullshit mentality. Well, shooters keep shooting. Not in the playoffs like that. No. If you're off, then you better find somebody else who's on. And instead of jacking up triples, because they're not a good 3-point shooting team, Reg. And they take they're 23rd, I think, in the league in jacking up threes. And that's good because they don't have good 3-point shooters. That's one of their biggest weaknesses, along with the wing position. So when you're not hitting, and last night he was 8 of 12 from 3-point range, so he's on fine. Keep shooting from beyond the arc when you're on like that. But when you're 1 for 9 and Garland's 2 for 10, well, then you're not shooting that 11th and 10th shot. No, you're going inside and make them defend Mobley and make them defend Allen. And that's where, again, my biggest concern is, along with the bench. The bench has to be better, okay? And I know it's going to be shortened, but somebody's got to step up besides LeVert and be semi-consistent, whether that's Rubio, whether that's Wade, whoever it might be. And you know what? I'll even say this. If Rubio continues to struggle, I know he's not going to give you much offensively, but late in the game, I'm getting Garland the hell out of there. I'm going to put Raul Neto in there to play some defense on the opposition's point guard, because I know he'll scrap and at least give effort defensively. So have him ready and say, look, you may play 2 to 4 minutes a night, but we need you to give everything you got defensively for those 2 to 4 minutes a night. We put you in the game, Raul, because Garland's a liability defensively. They got rid of Love because he was a liability defensively. Well,
sure.
You're trying to hide Garland behind Mobley and Allen near the rim, but some teams are going to be smart and figure it out that you're probably better pulling up for the mid-range jumper as opposed to trying to attack the rim with those 2 7-footers back there that do as good a job as anybody in the league at protecting the rim.
For a team that potentially can, be in the top 4 position and nail down the 4th seed in the East, man, there's a lot of things going on right now with the Cavaliers that we have to hope. And we know also that some of the criticism and some of the severity of J.B. Bickerstaff's tenure as a head coach, we're going to see, Ken. We're going to find out what this is all about.
Yeah, the players are. Garland. I've got Garland and JB as my 2 biggest concerns, along with the bench, Reg, going into this stretch
then you're
run
with
in the
me,
playoffs.
I'm probably going to need you on a few nights to talk me through my guy Darius Garland and how he's handling things offensively.
I will do my best.
Yeah, I tell you something. Like I said, the kid is a very good young player. I just sometimes, Kenny, I don't understand what he's thinking or looking at and why he's trying to force things himself so much. So I don't know. I don't know if we can expect that to end by playoff time, but he's certainly got to be one of the key cogs, because if he's not playing well, that pretty much is going to seal the Cavaliers' fate, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're on the same page right there, Reg. All right, buddy. That'll do it for this edition of the R&R podcast. We'll continue to follow this team down the stretch of the regular season into the playoffs. And coming up, we're going to get into the Guardians as spring training is underway for them. The World Baseball Classic, they've got like 5 or 6 guys that'll be playing in that, so we'll keep an eye on that. And we'll see what the Browns do here with free agency, Reg, just around the corner, March 15th.
Right.
4 p.m., I think it is Eastern time, 3 or 4 p.m. Eastern time. That's when you're allowed to officially sign guys. You can tamper with them 2 days before that to try and get a deal done. So we got a lot to get to in these coming weeks, and that'll take us right up to the draft as well, even though the Browns don't have a first-round pick.
Right, that we do. We've got a lot to decipher, and we will look forward to doing all of that, Kenny. It's going to be a fun spring here around C-Town with all 3 of the sports squads.
No doubt about Guardians picked to win the division. Cavaliers going to be in the playoffs, and, well, the Browns are the Browns. Shout out to our sponsor, Northfield Park, MGM Northfield Park, your home for live and simulcast racing. Catch the excitement of live harness racing every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking every day at Northfield Park. We thank them. We thank our outstanding producer, Ty Courts. Most of all, we thank you for listening to the R&R podcast here on the Press Play Podcast Network.